Good evening, y'all. It's Friday evening, and I tell you what, today has been an amazing day. Actually, an amazing week. That's why sometimes when you sit back and you process things, um, all the things that happen when they come together, it just makes so much sense. So anytime I'm in a learning environment, I process things so I could see, how can I say this and it connects with somebody? You know what I mean? So earlier this week, I was speaking to someone, and they're older than me, and we were talking about parents and death. And when I met this person, they had lost their mom like shortly before I met them. You know, you could kind of feel it, like something happened. Real cool person. But now here, years later, we're having this conversation, and I said, is it better to lose your parents when you're young or when you're older after you get, you're established? And we had a conversation about that. And I think they said that it's kind of easier when you're young because somebody else, they take over and they make things happen. It's like, oh, okay. It's like when you're a kid. So it's like, okay. And so, my audience is usually older people, so they really get sometimes what the things that I say, even though they don't have no comment. They call you, hey, say you, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, so when I'm processing things, because I deal with so many people that a lot of them are younger than me, I try to think about how can I say certain things to make it make sense so that they'll have a better understanding of life. Because when you're young, you feel like you're going to be here forever, and the people around you are going to be here forever. So anyway, that was earlier during the week. So then today, y'all know I didn't do my hair. That's why I got this wig on. I ran out of time because, I get consumed with my self-care, and then I look up at the clock and it's like, girl, you got to go. So I didn't have a chance to do my hair. I really felt like I was really running late. I knew I had a couple of minutes, but it wasn't until I got in the car that I realized, oh, girl, you good. You got 10 extra minutes. I did. I had 10 extra minutes. And as I was getting in my car, I heard this new neighbor. I think he's been around for about 4 months, 5 months. I don't know. He's new to me. I never met him. But I heard him moving around outside of his yard in the front. And I was like, you know what? Let me go over here and meet this man. I got time today. And so when I walked over, he had his back turned to me. And I said, hello. I didn't want to scare him, but I said, hello. And he didn't hear me. And when he turned around, he had some earphones on. That kind of moment. So he took it off and he says, oh, am I making too much noise? I said, no, you're good. And I said, I introduced myself. I said, this is where I live at. And just came over here to say hi. And he said, how you doing? And, we had a little chat. And since he was doing stuff, I was like, so what you be doing over here? And he explained to me the project he was working on and stuff. I was thinking about, oh, he handy. But anyway, it was a nice little visit. And I said, okay, gotta go. And I left. And he let me know, if you need anything, knock on my door. Okay. It wasn't anything flirty or anything. So anyway, I go to work and then I come home and it's dark. I done ate Popeyes. You know how Popeyes make you all tired and stuff? Listen, I was like, I'm just going to go home and wash these little bit of dishes and take a shower and go to bed. Well, when I pulled up, My other neighbor was starting his car, and I heard but it wouldn't start. And I was thinking, maybe he need a boost. I got jumper cables, you know? And I called his name. I got out the car. I still have my little Popeyes bag because I didn't know. I don't know. I was going to open the door and put the Popeyes in the house just in case he needed something. And I said, hey, you want me to bring my car? And now that would have been totally illegal. But I was willing to drive my car across my rocks so I could line up with his fence in case he needed a boost. And he says, no. I said, you need a boost? He said, no, I don't need a boost. He said, I need you to push the car. Okay. So I said, give me a second. Only thing I did, I didn't even go in the house. I just turned around, put my Popeyes bag back in the car, came over there, let's do it. And it was another lady there. And I was like, wow, we're going to push the car. And, I was ready to do it. I was ready to do it. Because he would do it for me. Isn't that beautiful? He would do it for me. So then when I realized after we was trying to push the car, like, yo, we need some help. So I said, you want me to go across the street and get the other guy, neighbor? He's like, yeah. So I went over there, but the guy wasn't home. And I knew that because he pointed out which two cars were his. And I noticed that his car was so shiny. It was so pretty. And anyway, he didn't have the pretty shiny car there, so I already knew he wasn't there. And I came back and I was like, he not home. I said, but go ask that neighbor. And he went over, he was like, usually he's real conservative about not wanting to bother people, but listen, he need to bother somebody. So he went over there, he knocked on the door, and the lady came to the door, and she was like, oh, what's the problem? Oh, I'm your neighbor, da-da-da. She said, oh, he's in the shower. I'll let him know when he gets out. Listen, that man wanted to know who was at his door. And I tell you what, he came flying out that house. He came flying at the house. It was such a beautiful experience to see. And then they started speaking Spanish. I was like, you might want to say that in English because I need to know which way to roll. And they started laughing. But we together as a team, we pushed his car like where he wanted it to be. And he was so excited. And so to backtrack to the front of the story, that neighbor thing, I was trying to explain to somebody today, because, when your parents are ill and stuff, and, you don't really want to think the worst thing that could happen. But, as we age, we already know what time it is because we've heard that story before. It's not a good story. And so I was explaining, I said, you know what? Have you ever ran track? And the person was like, yes. I see, as a parent, it says, when we run real fast and we do everything we need to do, when we pass that baton to you, don't even look back. Just keep going. Keep running. Keep doing your best because I gave you all I have. And you know what? As long as you're doing good, as long as you still in the race, baby, we winning. Even if I'm not there to cheer you on, we winning because I know that I gave you everything. And when I go back and think about those things, all of those little things wrapped up in one little stick, booyah! You take that baton and you run your best race in life. And the reason why I have such beautiful neighbors that I notice is my dad came to visit me one time. It didn't matter if he came 50 times, but he came that one time. Just like some people, they go to church one time. The thing that you learn Whatever it is, it could be a blessing. That's why you got to be able to process something. And what happened was I picked them up from the airport. I was feeling some kind of way in my emotions. I'm sitting there crying and stuff. Kim, what you crying for? They come to visit you. Yeah, but it's when they leave me. If I feel like this and I'm receiving you, how am I going to feel when you leave me? So I decided I'm going back home with them. And I booked myself for a vacation to leave when they leave. I'm leaving with you. We going on the same plane. Yeah. And that's how it happened. But the day I was leaving, my dad says to me, who's going to take out your trash? Your neighbor, right? I didn't know them people. I was looking stupid. Yeah, you know the stupid look. He said, Kim, you don't know your neighbors? And he just and walked over to the neighbor's house and listen. Them people was coming. They was coming out the house. They was getting in their car. He interrupted them. He said, excuse me. In his big old voice. And pointing back at me. That's my daughter right here. And he said, he told her I was going out of town and can they take my trash out? And they were so nice. They was like, yeah, sure, not a problem. I felt so stupid. I didn't know my neighbors. And I mean, I went on vacation, but you know what, to be honest, I thought about that situation while I was on vacation with them. I was like, now I got to go back home and meet. And I had just moved in the neighborhood too. Now I got to go home and see these people. And now I got to be all friendly and stuff. And because Daddy went over there introducing me before I wanted to introduce myself. And guess what? Nicest people. And they moved. And so now it's like, okay, Kim, you need to really know your neighbors for real. I made it my BI business to know who my neighbors were. And I tell you what, that some of you know, because you know I brag about my neighbors. And listen, don't let me need something. Sometimes people have to teach you how to treat them, how to treat yourself. There's a reason it's in the Bible. Love thy neighbor like you love yourself. I love my neighbors. Don't let me not see them because I'll be texting them. Hey, did you move? Okay, because your yard looks like you moved. Every Kim, I'm going to do my yard. No, we're going to do it together. And I was like, I'm going to blow and you going to bag. It's like, okay. And we do yard work together. But when he said he needed that, like, listen, I should have had a camera. Because that moment was so beautiful just to see everybody just stop what they doing and help you push your car in your yard. Like, who does that? Beautiful neighbors. I was so honored. Like, push a car? Yeah, I'm going to help him push that car. Because you know what? My neighbors go out their way for me. And it was just a beautiful thing. I would have never had that opportunity if my dad didn't come here that one time. See, those are the type of things that's that baton. It got so many things in it. And booyah! When I pass it to you, you better run with it. And see, each generation is different because what your parents have for that one, I want you to do this. You did this. Everybody has an assignment, but nobody knows what your assignment is. Listen, I know what my assignment is. My assignment is to take care of yourself. My assignment is to take care of yourself. Because you know what? When you take care of yourself, it doesn't matter how sick your parents are or what's going on with them. That's one less thing for them to worry about. You. Because you know what? They know that they have instilled enough things in you. And when you picky to begin with, they already know you're going to pick over what you want. You heard what you wanted to hear. I sure did. And you know what? I'm going to roll with it. One of the things that I like, that I notice is, and I've been able to bless people with it and myself, Um, First time I came to Texas, I drove and just loading up the car and stuff. And my dad made sure that I had a cooler with some ice and sodas and waters and all this other stuff. And you know what? I got that same cooler in my car. I ain't buying nothing new. Them same coolers in my car, and I keep it filled with ice water. And I tell you, that ice water has been able to bless people that's been stranded on the road. That ice cooler has been able to bless those kids when I go through the drive-thru to get my car washed on a hot day. Like, they be like, thank you so much. Yeah, because it's ice. My dogs were so bougie, they didn't even drink water from the park. They didn't want the water from the cooler. Like, and then, I pass it on to the kids. They're not kids, they're adults. They driving. But that's like, you know what? This is the desert. It's hot. You could die out here. You need to put you a cooler in there with some water, some ice. Keep ice on it. They got all these ice machines on it. Listen. It's just a beautiful thing to pick up the things that you like, the things that you learned, and you roll with it. You don't look back. You just keep going, because that's what you do when you're in a race. That's what you do when you lifing, and you do the very best you can. And God will position you in certain places at certain times for certain reasons. And it'll be right on time. My last day of internship, I remember this lady came in and she was out of breath. And the hallway is real long to walk up. And I was on a lunch break just chilling. Like, I had already ate something earlier. So, yeah, I wasn't going anywhere. I don't have anybody until the next hour. And she came in and I asked her, girl, where you coming from? She said, I'm coming from church. You live far from here? She said, no, I live around the corner. She said, but I came up here to see. I said, well, what happened? What you need? You got an appointment or something? She says, no. She says, I came up here because I'm supposed to be on the list of the people that you call when they have a cancellation, and no one's called me. And I said, oh. And then somebody else heard the conversation. It was like, oh, I'm sorry. This is our last day. Like, we're booked up. Nobody asked you what you thought. So it was another student that came, and I was like, hey, call the instructor. So when the instructor came, the instructor asked her, how can I help you? And she says, went on to tell the story. She says, ma'am, I'm so sorry. She says, but we don't have anybody. We're all booked up. And I said, I can do her. She says, Kim, you can do her? Yeah, I could do her. I only have an hour. So I looked over at her, and, they giving her paperwork to fill out. That's going to take a minute. We ain't got that much time. I'm looking at the clock like, dun, 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 dun. So I'm trying to speed it up, okay? I'm going to do you a favor. So I said, listen, I don't have a lot of time, so we have to speed this up. Is there something bothering you? And she said, well, I'm a caregiver. Okay, stop. That's enough for me. I don't need to know the rest. I already know the story. And, I think just being a hairstylist, yeah, I could stop that real quick, because you're going to have me crying my lashes off and stuff. I don't feel like doing all that. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand what a caregiver has to do. I done heard enough stories that I know that, you know what? And yeah, you're probably doing it by yourself. And here she go. I didn't say it, but she was like, and my siblings don't help me. That story used to hit me differently. Because you'd be like, shame on them. No. Remember, everybody got their own assignment. You've already been told. You've already been taught. And even though all of y'all are siblings, you are each different. And so here we go. She says, yeah, I'm a caregiver and I'm the only one that's doing anything and every day. Listen, God will make sure that you have the people around you. Remember, I said yes to her before I even found out that she was a caregiver. She didn't have to say all of that. I already told her, I'm going to take care of you. But listen, is there anything I need to know? You know, you hurting or something? She says, yeah, I'm hurting all over my back. And, da, 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 da. And then when I went to tell her to get on the table, I asked, do you know how to get on the table? I don't know why, just that quick, I forgot this. It seemed like she had been there before. But anyway, she said, yeah, I know how to get on the table. I said, well, call me when you're ready. And when she called me when she was ready, she was faced the wrong way. It wasn't the wrong way. She was face down, and we usually start you face up. So I said, is this the way you want me to work on you? And she says, I'm on the table the wrong way. No, you're not. However you get on the table, I can work with you. I can work with you on your back, your stomach, your feet first, your head first. Doesn't matter. I'm going to work on you. But the thing is that it's amazing when you look at things a certain way. It's like, because we don't have control over life and death. But all the things that your parents taught you, even for you older people, because they're not here anymore. Listen, you were supposed to get all of that in the baton and keep moving. The way they do the holidays, the way they save for this, the way they used to iron the kids' clothes, the way they kept them neat, the way that you taught them right from wrong, all of those things matter. And you know what? How to love your neighbor. My dad taught me that. How to be a good neighbor. And just being able to just drop everything. Be like, yeah, let's go push the car. Let's do this. Let's do this. And you know what? I gave him my best. But, when that other neighbor came out running, he was like, like, what's going on? What we need to do? What? I was like, yes. That was a beautiful sight. And I was so happy to be a part of it. Like, I ask people all do you know your neighbors? No, I just say, I don't know them people. Listen, I don't care what it is that I need. Don't let me have it. Don't let me not have it, because hey, I was wondering, what you doing? Yes, and whatever it is, they're going to help me. And whatever it is that they need from me, if I got it, you got it. That's a beautiful feeling. It really is. And you want to know something? Even though my dad got the ball rolling, they taught me how to be a neighbor. They taught me how to be a neighbor. One of my neighbors told me something had happened, and I was just over here being prideful and just I ain't gonna buy. I don't know them people. And just left it alone. And one day I was talking to the neighbor that I started to get to know, and I said, I started to knock on your door, but it was too late, so I didn't want to bother you. The way he looked at me, he said, Kim, we're neighbors. Anything you need, knock on the door. He ain't tell me twice. One time something happened. I had a pipe bust and had a whole big old water fountain going on in my yard. I didn't know how to turn off the main water valve. I didn't even know where it was. I didn't have a choice. And I knocked on his door. It was wee hours in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody came outside. I said, I'm so sorry. He says, no, what's the problem? There. Oh, let me get my toolbox. I said, I just don't know it. Don't worry, I know. Don't worry, I know. Listen, Learn who your neighbors are. I know some of you sit there and you watch my videos and you just quiet as a mouse and don't say nothing. Even when I ask you to participate, but listen, I'll tell you something. Know who your neighbors are. Know who your neighbors are. That's all I have to say. I got beautiful neighbors. You guys have a wonderful night. And don't forget, everybody has or is going to serve their purpose eventually. Don't let people talk or show you things in vain. Learn to pick it up. Pick up the habits that are good for you, that are useful to you, you know? Because this is the only chapter. This is the only chapter of life that you have. So make it a good one. Bye-bye.